Okay, this is the last section of chapter 3. You're going to notice some of the standards we're going to work on today, again, is solving for various variables, order of operations, add and subtract integers, but we're also going to add that distributive property. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first problem. We're going to write it down. And what we're going to do first of all is we're going to look at the first part of this problem and we're going to distribute. So let's go ahead and take the 2 times negative x. That gives us negative 2x. The plus sign here is going to drop down, and then 2 times 2x is 4x. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add the rest of the problem down. Now what we're going to do is combine like terms. So you're going to notice that I have negative 2x here. I'm going to add 4x, take away 4x, and I end up with negative 2x plus 2 equals x plus negative 4. Let's keep going, and let's try to get our x by itself. So this next step then, I'm going to subtract 2. And you could take care of your x's first if you wanted to. I'm going to take care of my numbers. You end up with negative 2x. These cancel, and I get x plus negative 6. And again, if you want to put parentheses around that negative 6, go ahead and do that. You do not need to if you don't want to. We want to get our x's all to one side, so I'm going to subtract x from each side. And we end up with negative 3x. Now be careful because I've got a negative 2x and I've got a negative 1x. That gives me a negative 3x. Some students don't do that. And that equals negative 6. I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by negative 3. And we end up with x equals 2 and negative x equals negative 2. Let's go ahead and do our check. Again, original problem. We're going to take out our variables and we're going to put in our numbers. So this is negative 2, and I try to make the numbers inside the parentheses and the inner parentheses a little bit smaller than the larger parentheses. So for example, on the outside, this parenthesis here and this parenthesis here, I made a little bit bigger just because it's a little bit easier to see that problem. Same with this. The x, I'm going to take it out and I'm going to put in a 2. Now we're going to look inside the parentheses. So I'm going to look inside this parenthesis here. And I'm going to do what's in the parentheses first. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to multiply these. Again, I'm going to work inside the parentheses here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this parenthesis because there's actually things going on inside that large parenthesis. So we're going to do this one first. We're going to multiply. And then we're going to go from left to right. And you end up with -2 equals -2, and that is a check. You're going to notice that the last section, we're putting all of our skills together. Let's go ahead and let's move on to the last new problem. Again, I'm going to write down the original problem. The problem you're going to see on this one is this right here. You're going to notice we have a negative outside that parenthesis. So if you remember how we handled that in the past, is I'm going to put a 1 in front of that parenthesis, and I'm going to do a chop-chi. It makes this a little bit easier. So anytime you have a negative outside the parenthesis, you're going to put a 1 in front, and then you're going to do a chop-chi. So I'm going to do a -1 times -3, which gives us 3. I'm going to bring that plus sign down, and then I'm going to do -1 times m, and that gives me -m. Now I'm just going to go ahead and write down everything else around the problem. I'm going to combine like terms. You're going to notice I have a -2m and a -m here, which makes -3m. I want all my m's to one side and my numbers to the other, so I'm going to subtract 3 from each side. I'm going to subtract 2m. And I end up with -5m equals 5. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to divide both sides by -5. And I end up with m equaling -1 and -m equaling 1. Now we're going to go ahead to the other side and I'm going to write the check problem. So the original problem we're going to take out our m and we're going to put in -1. I'm going to, I forgot that other parenthesis. Really important you get those parentheses on the outside. All right, let's going to work inside the parentheses. So I'm going to take these two, and I end up with -4. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot a little m here. Let me go ahead, let me go back. And let's scooch this over. I forgot that m there. I'm sorry. And I'm going to scooch this over. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put in -1. Sorry about that. Hopefully you caught that as you were doing it, going, no! Let's go ahead then and write this down. I'm going to multiply these two. I end up with a +2. I'm going to chop and get 6. I'm going to multiply these two together. And again, you could have done that sooner. And I end up with 6 equals 6. Again, if you have any questions, make sure you ask.